spent about 7 hours reading this book and a further 2 hours taking extensive notes on all the key ideas and principles that I would later apply to my business to reach $5,000 a month. That's something that I achieved very quickly after reading this book, and I'm on pace to hit my first $10,000 month relatively soon. That's what this book is going to show you how to do, and it contains every single thing you need to know about how to scale a coaching and or e-learning business to make more than $10 million in revenue. And $10 million is not a number that he just pulled randomly out of thin air. That's what the author, William Brown, sold his first business for. And I've worked with him personally. I will tell you, he is one of the best listeners that I have ever met. That's just a recurring theme that I see over and over again. It's really high level business people. Like they're just extraordinary listeners. But right now, we are living through the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And it's the people who develop these high value skills and the ability to market them effectively. They will be the big winners in this new economy. Now is the time. So, How to 10 Million is perfect for anyone with an information product, coaching service, or agency offer. And like I said, I personally used the information that I learned in this book to scale my business. Not to $10 million in revenue, but to a point where I don't have a boss. I don't have to take any meetings that I don't want to. And if the bookstore and the gym weren't down the road, I wouldn't even have to leave my house. So I've got about 5 pages of notes from this book, and they're all available down in the video description. And also the sponsor of today's video, which is called Book Genius, and I'll have more to say about them coming up in a few minutes. But I'm just going to go through some of the higher impact ideas in this book and from my notes and just kind of explain a little bit and give a little bit of context that's going to help you get the most out of this book yourself. And so the very first thing that I wrote down in my notes, it's so basic, so simple, and so obvious, but it's one of those fundamentals that the advanced people never don't do. Like the advanced people never don't do the basics. William Brown, he says, who will you help? What will you help them to do? How will you help them to do it? And if you answer those questions, honestly, if you can answer them clearly and specifically, then you already have the basis for a highly profitable online business. And you'd be surprised at how many people just can't answer those questions at all. Like they want to make money online, but they help everybody. If you help everybody, you're not going to be able to help anybody. And so you really have to drill down into who this is actually for. And I did this myself in my community on School, and that's the first link in the video description. But it's called Creator Launch Academy. And what I did there was really drill down into the specifics. And, before I was just talking to content creators. It was if you are a content creator, I'll help you. Which is not specific or anything. Like, you might be a content creator, but like, does that tell you that I'm the person that's going to be able to help you? Like, that doesn't give you any context or information. And so what I kind of what I realized or what I boiled it down to was educational content creators. And so that's, maybe I'll even drill it down to something more specific than that. But I got really granular, like as much as possible. Like, who I help is educational content creators. And what will you help them to do? So my thing, like I never promised something that I never promised to teach something that I haven't done myself. So my promise after reaching $5,000 a month in revenue myself is to help them get to that place. And I've established some credibility, in having more than 100,000 followers on Instagram and just various platforms, building them up. So a lot of what I help people to do is build their credibility and authority and expertise and things like that, and build out monetization, like really hammer down a monetization strategy, right? And the reason why I went a little bit more into detail on that, like that's not supposed to be a sales pitch or anything. It's just to say that that is so much more specific than I help content creators. Like you don't help anybody. So you really do have to nail that down. And so William Brown, he says, the great news is that you can take this approach for almost every product or service that it's possible to provide. The formula is simple. Solve the hardships, remove the stumbling blocks, answer the questions, or hire professionals to do so, and you'll soon have a product so great, so push button, that it's a no-brainer of a purchase to make. And that's, I'm not there yet in my business, but what I do is I'm constantly, asking the members of my community and, the followers that I have on various platforms, like, what is stopping them from getting to that result? There's going to be things that come up for every single person trying to get the result that you promise. And basically, like, what you can do is solve as many of their problems for them. And what you can do is like if somebody is Like, you could offer to build a landing page for them. Like, that could be like part of the product or service that you provide. If they're like if they're working with chiropractors and like what it doesn't even matter. Like whatever they're helping other people to do, they're focused on building out that part of their business and getting better at their key skill and things like that. They don't have time to learn copywriting and design and like build out a high converting landing page or whatever. Like, if you can just do that for them or give them like a template to follow and things like that, as much as you can do, that's just going to be tremendously helpful. So basically what I'm always looking for are things that I can provide that are just so push button that you can just install them in your business right away. And it saves time, money, frustration, gives clarity. So basically anything that you can offer, checklists, templates, done for you offers, things like that. That's where you basically just do everything for them. Like, you don't have to show them how to build a landing page or even give them a template. You can just do it for them. So like that is incredibly valuable. So you can build a very, very profitable business by just solving as many of those problems that people don't have the time, energy, expertise, interest in solving for themselves. So again, like, this is kind of basic, but if you don't understand this, and this book will teach you, like, it'll help you understand this, then it's online business is just going to be so much harder than it has to be, and it's hard enough already. Like, that's something that I tell the people that I work with too. Like, it's hard enough already without like rediscovering all this stuff for yourself and just going over what other people have already done. Basically, just send the ladder back down behind you so they can climb that ladder themselves instead of building it themselves. So, anyway, moving on. So, knowing who you're selling to, and more specifically, the exact right person for your product or service, is the difference between making $25,000 a year and $25 million a year. That's not just a figure I plucked from thin air, by the way. I personally know 3 people who make over $25 million per year in total sales volume, and their businesses are built on this level of spectacular depth and detail. So that just kind of shows you the range and how important it is to really dial this in and get specific on this. Like, who exactly you help, what precisely you help them to do, how you get them there, the roadmap that you give them. If they follow the steps, like, if you follow, like, do what I tell you to do, and you will get this result, and I will remove every obstacle, roadblock, everything in front of you, then that is the difference between some like barely scraping by business, like side hustle to pay the bills, and some spectacularly successful business that just pays for everything that you'd ever want to buy in your entire life ever. So it's kind of important. And so this one on paid ads, and this is something that just it honestly transformed my entire business. It's not something that everybody is able to do, at least not at first, but it is like, if you can, it's one of the biggest competitive advantages, like almost an unfair advantage that you have in business, and that's the ability to run paid ads. Because as William says, when you release a piece of organic content on social media, you cannot control how many people actually see it. However, you can control ad spend, which means when you run a paid ad on a social media platform, you can control how many people actually see it by either spending less or spending more. This gives you full control over how many leads or sales calls you buy, allowing you to control the scale of your business. Now, currently, I'm spending about $100 a day on Facebook ads to grow my newsletter. So that is the result that I'm driving for. For various reasons, my newsletter is just one of the pillars of my entire business, and it's exactly what William says here. So on social media, you can't control the algorithm. Like, you don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram or YouTube. You found this video. I didn't pay for it to show up to you. So like, even though you can do that, you can boost posts and things like that, but you don't control your social media platforms the same way that you do when you control an email list, which is just one of the like it's just one of the best things that I've ever done for my business. And just this kind of like it's beyond the scope of this video, but there's a friend of mine, like super successful, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, business owner, Talon Simmons, really good friend of mine, great guy. He borrowed a term from bodybuilding called time under tension. And so time under tension in bodybuilding is like like the amount of time that your muscles spend exerting force or like contracting, like being worked, right? And so the longer the time under tension, like the more stress your muscles get, and like the more stress, and then you recover, they grow back bigger and stronger, right? So the time under tension, which is what Talon says, it means the more time that you spend with someone, the greater trust is built up, the more you come to know and like the person. So if you know, like, and trust someone, you are much more likely to buy from that person. So what you want is increased time under attention. And again, this is beyond the scope of what we're talking about here, but the newsletter is what gives you more time under attention than some LinkedIn post or even Instagram post that is gone, for after a couple of weeks. And so all of that is very important to understand. And so when you can just drive leads to your sales page, to your sign up page, it's almost literally like a volume dial that you can turn up and down. Like if you want more leads, you just spend more money. If you have enough customers or too many leads to follow up on, you just turn down your spending and you turn off that stream of new customers. So it's something that you control. This next one is more of a personal development type thing. And Williams just right on with this, where he says, how can we expect people to buy our knowledge if we don't invest in our own knowledge? So he's talking about paying for coaching and investing in books like this, watching YouTube videos like this, like you are actively investing in your own skills just by watching this, like you're improving your knowledge and expertise, just things that you like going to events, masterminds, like if you don't invest in your own knowledge and skills and abilities, but you're asking other people to buy your knowledge and buy your expertise, I don't really think that's fair. So, don't I mean, this is a blanket pronouncement. Maybe there's some exceptions, of course. I would say basically don't hire a coach who doesn't also have a coach. Like my business coach, like again, like that's a good signal. I have a business coach. He makes like $30,000 a month and he has coaches. He's always going to masterminds. He's buying books and courses and he's always up leveling his knowledge. And that's just so important. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself and your own development, and you're asking other people to invest in theirs, so just invest in yourself as much as possible, whether that's coaching or this book or just almost literally anything. Just do it. Invest in yourself. Invest in your own knowledge. Now, in this next quote, he's talking about the value of your offer and what you can actually expect people to pay. And he says, also remember the value of time, our most precious asset. Art forms such as painting, music, and photography are incredibly fulfilling and fun, but they take time, skill, and effort to learn. Don't underestimate the value of offering a program that allows someone to master an art form quickly. The lesson is to charge appropriately if you are providing value for people. What most people do, and what I was guilty of for a long time, is undercharging for what we do, right? And if you are saving somebody hundreds of hours that they would have otherwise spent learning this stuff on their own, like going down YouTube rabbit holes and kind of learning important stuff here and there in sort of a disorganized way. If you are providing legitimate value for people by putting all of this in one place that they can consume and removing their obstacles or constraints, like making their life easier and helping them develop this skill or like anything that you're helping them to do, like you're saving them time, effort, sacrifice, everything. Like if you're doing these things, you have to charge appropriately. And it's not just the value of learning this new thing, but it's also the value of the time that they're saving, the effort, frustration, all of those things. And a mistake that I was constantly making is kind of assuming that people don't have a ton of money to spend on this stuff. People do. Like, obviously, some people, like, if you watch the news, which I don't, it's just garbage. If you watch the news, though, like, everybody is, like, on food stamps and, like, they're, like, broke and nobody's spending money and everything awful happening all at once, which is actually not the reality. Like, people have money to spend. And if you make a compelling offer, they will spend that money with you. I'm only going to go through a couple more. I do want to wrap this up. I want to save you a bit of time here, but here's one to just kind of inspire you a little bit. This is William Brown talking. He says, I recently saw an offer priced at $30,000 to get access plus $2,000 per month to keep access to the private client group, the ever-evolving course content, and anytime one-to-one coaching calls with the business owner and his team of sales and marketing experts. What a great offer and price. I don't charge anything close to that, but you have to realize that there are people out there that are able and willing, like if they have, like if you make a compelling offer, to the right person, there are people out there that are more than willing and able to spend $30,000 to get access to you, provided that you have developed yourself sufficiently into the kind of person who can command those kind of prices and who can effect a radical transformation in the person that's buying that transformation from you. If you can legitimately offer somebody a transformation that they want, you can charge a lot more money than you're charging right now. And that is a note to self. This video is sponsored by Book Genius. It's a book app that I use personally every single day. I'm actually an advisor to the company, which is pretty damn cool. That doesn't come with a salary or anything, but I offer input to develop the app and make it better over time. It's a really good app for solidifying your learning, and there's quizzes, and you can join book clubs on the app. I'm starting a book club on the app myself. And so if you want to return to these ideas on a consistent basis, really solidify your learning, test yourself over time, which is great for learning and remembering more of what you read, check out Book Genius in the video description. And when you use my affiliate link, you get 56% off the annual version. Thank you, Book Genius, for sponsoring this video. And let's get back into my notes. This is where William talks about unit economics, which is something that's really critical to understand. It's really just foundational business knowledge. And what he says is that if you get your unit economics right, which means your program price is high enough to enable you to make a profit based on your unique costs, you genuinely have a money printing machine. I don't say that lightly, I truly mean it. He goes on to say the key to unit economics is finding out what it costs you to make a sale, which will require you to invest money in paid ads to buy that data. Use that data to price your program efficiently in order to generate a profit. If you're unable to charge a high enough price on the front end, which means for your primary product, then add a back-end product or service, also called an upsell. This is a second optional purchase that someone can make after becoming a customer. So what you want to do is have several different price points for different offer levels, different customer buying levels. So if you'll notice in my own business, I've got free stuff, like you can just read my newsletter for free. I've got, free YouTube videos and things like that. I help people for free just because I love talking about books on the internet and just helping people read more. I love that. And of course, helping them grow their online business. Like that's fun for me. I enjoy it. But if people want to go further, I've got, other tiers. So for example, my private community on School, Creator Launch Academy, that's $35 a month right now. So that's kind of like basic entry. That's low ticket. Then there's my coaching. You're looking at several hundred to several $1,000s right there. So you've got different levels. All right. So a couple more quotes here and then I'll wrap this up. So William says, never forget this. The number one reason that businesses go out of business is because they run out of cash. Therefore, understanding your cash flows is the most important part of operating a successful business. And then this question is a good one to ask as well. What's our core competence, and are we truly the best in the world at this? So Jack Welch, he ran General Electric for years and years, one of the top CEOs in business. Like he's just a legend. He says that if he wasn't able to be number one or number two in a category, that he would just get out. Like if he couldn't be the very, very best in that category, then General Electric just would not participate in that category. Another thing that he said is that if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. So that question is really important. So what's our core competence? What do we do that we can truly be the best in the world at? And if there's you have to decide what that is for you. And then this question too. So where's the market headed? What's the consensus reaction? And how are we 10 steps ahead? Another great question. And it's not are we 10 steps ahead? How are we 10 steps ahead? Those are very different questions. And then this quote from Sam Ovens, one of the best business leaders on the planet, or none. He says, you either sacrifice for your goals and dreams, or your goals and dreams become the sacrifice. And yeah, that's just if that's not the truest thing that I've said today, it's up there. And then okay, so a couple more that are they're worth reading. Again, the whole book is worth reading. William Brown, again, he says, if you do what normal people do, you get what normal people get, which is nothing. If you do what extraordinary people do, you get what extraordinary people get, which is anything you desire, because you will work tirelessly until it's yours. And then this, what your subconscious mind believes leads to what your conscious mind begins taking steps to physically achieve. That is something that far too few people actually understand. And your actions and behaviors are driven by subconscious forces a lot of the time. Yes, you can consciously direct what you do. I'm not saying you're not responsible, but you have to this is the topic for an entire new, like a video series on this, but it's like so true. It's stupidly true. I'm just like what your subconscious mind believes is just like it literally leads to what your conscious mind tells you to do. And it's that undercurrent running through everything that you've ever done or wanted or moved towards in your entire life. It's so incredibly important to understand that. Moving on to the last quote here, though. This is William Brown again. He says, "If you've read this book in full, that in itself is a massive achievement." Even getting to the end of this video, like how many people would have seen this and said, oh, it's just a guy talking about books. There are no flashy animations or like loud noises or explosions. This isn't the video for me. That's why they're never going to be as successful as you or I, because they can't devote just like a few minutes to something that's like a book that's going to change everything for them. Anyway, so if you've read it in full, it's a massive achievement. And most people never invest in their knowledge or growth, let alone take action after doing so. You are different. You're like me. You'll stop at nothing to make your goals and dreams a reality. Full focus at all times, no matter what. I think I'm going to leave it there. You've got most of the best notes that I've taken from this book. But again, like it's well worth reading for yourself because the notes that I've taken were relevant to me. But if you read this book like on your own, you're going to find things in here that's just so like perfectly relevant to you that I would like I literally would not have noticed. Like again, that's subconscious mind. Like my mind just it wouldn't have the same relevance to me as it will be for you. And that goes for every single book that you or I could read. You know, we could read the same book, but to each of us, it'll be two different books because we're two different people with two different goals, two different, histories. Like it won't have the same relevance to you. So read it yourself, take your own notes, apply them, revisit them. Using apps like Book Genius will definitely help. Like I said, link in the description for 56% off the annual subscription. But I want to really thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And if you want to build an unbreakable reading habit, you're going to want to watch this video right here. Happy reading.
I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah.